I have to say, I am really proud of the thumbnail that was captured for this video. I have no idea how I managed to do that. That was not my intention for that photo in the least. So, can't say respect. Anyway, so we're going to keep it a little bit short again today. I know that last Thursday, I had the email communication problem, so I didn't post a video then. Luckily, at this point in the semester, as long as we're doing the data reports, the information reports, the content at this point is kind of, easy. I do need to go and catch up with what's been going on in the discussion forums. I am very behind on that, and I've been catching up on lots of other grading too. So there is, there's a lot of stuff that I'm catching up on my end, but I do have an interesting caveat to the information report this week. We've been doing research, and I've been wanting you guys to do research, gathering data, taking notes, and along. And that's been the real basis of these reports that you've been writing every week. Now, these are not something that I'm going to scrutinize too heavily. So it's not like I'm going to be going in with a fine-tooth comb and just checking every single grammar aspect of this. This week, I'm going to add a new layer onto it. I want you to continue with the information report. So we'll be heading into week 3 of this. And as I've said before, all of this is adding up to the research paper we're going to put together soon. Now, what I want you to do next is I want you to go back over all your information reports. I want you to look at what you've been tracking and think about all the articles that you've been seeing, all the information you've been digesting. You should have a pretty darn good palette of information with which to choose from now. You've been building up this little database for yourself. So hopefully your knowledge of the particular subject that you've been looking into every single week has given you some real benefit, right? You've expanded your knowledge. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start trying to put on and go through the motions of organizing a paper out of all this information. Now, there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. We're going to do an outline, and an outline is a very streamed down version of a paper. It doesn't deal with the specific paragraphs. It doesn't deal with the specific sentences. It simply works with concepts, right? A very short, quick list, kind of like a pre-write of what are some of the possibilities you could discuss in this topic. Now, I just realized it is really hot in this office. I'm just like, you're like recording something and like all of a sudden it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like I'm sitting in front of a camera, I'm live streaming, and it's like you sit outside of yourself and you see yourself and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Does that ever happen to you? It's pretty creepy when it does happen. In any case, had that weird moment of existential dread there. Any case, so what we're basically doing is we need to start deciding what our arguments are going to be. And the arguments are not the subject, right? We need to start taking the information from our subjects and getting much more hyper-specific with it to think about what our information, what we've learned can say. Now, I've been watching some of these topics grow organically over time. And I've seen everything from arguments against raising the minimum wage. I've seen some really interesting information about the vaccines and whether the vaccines have been appropriately vetted or not, which is, that's controversial, but it is interesting. So we need to start thinking about what our opinion is going to be. That's, of course, what we would refer to as argumentation. We're moving into the argumentation stage now. So what I think I'm going to do with you guys is rather than just doing an outline here at the very beginning, why don't we focus instead on just coming up with an argument? Now, when I say an argument, let's define a few things here. An argument is not a fight. It's not disagreeing with someone. An argument in the rhetorical sense is really more having a claim or having an opinion, right? And a lot of students hear opinion and they get a little nervous. They think that they're not supposed to be opinionated in their writing. And I'm like, as a college writing instructor, I'm like, how on earth else are you going to do this? All writing and all communication really drills down to some form of stance or perspective. The main point of writing a research paper really should be communicating your opinion, right? What you think about the subject. So everybody, it's time to step back, and rather than thinking about what we've learned, we need to start interpreting this stuff. We need to start having an opinion about it. I wanted you to resist this at first because I wanted you to try to go into these topics very open-minded, right? I wanted you to be able to be influenced by the data that was, washing over you. But now we don't necessarily have to do that. And in fact, it's necessary for us to begin to formulate the stance that we would like to take. Now, let's throw out some interesting ideas. For this paper that we're going to write using this information, you don't necessarily need to believe what it is you're saying. Sometimes it's okay to think about argumentation in terms of what is easiest to argue, right? Don't think about it just in terms of what you believe should happen. Think about what will be easier to make the point, right? There's actually a word for this in ancient Greek philosophy. I believe it was sophistry. And the sophists believed that that external truth didn't matter as much as your ability to persuade someone to adopt your viewpoint. So you could change your viewpoint to, solidify your stance and argue the stance. This probably sounds incredibly boring and, pedantic. But I mean, sophistry, there was a lot of people for a long time who thought that sophistry was one of the most dangerous things on planet Earth. Because, think about it. If your primary goal is to be persuasive, if persuasiveness and the ability to convince others of your stance is more important than the actual truth itself, you could theoretically do anything. You could lead people to make all sorts of strange and crazy conclusions, and you become like a master manipulator. But that's more than fine here. Being a bit of a sophist could be actually a really great idea when you start formulating your arguments, your opinions. So the opinion is the thing I want you focusing on the most right now. How are you going to interpret the data you've collected? What is your opinion going to be? And you can tell an argument, an opinion, by several different criteria. The main one is somebody needs to be able to disagree with you about it. Somebody needs to be able to argue against what you're saying. The day of the week is not an argument, right? Statements of fact are not argument. And I see students do this a lot. They'll be like, the COVID-19 vaccine was approved this date. That's not an argument. There's no opinion involved there, right? I see that bubbling up when I try to force you guys down the path of an argument. So what I would say is for this week, for today, because I'm going to have another addendum to this on Thursday, start thinking about your opinions. This can be a simple sentence. So you don't have to write a lot in response to this video. It can be just a simple sentence. And I think this will be kind of a good exercise. Go into the forum and write your opinion of your topic. What do you think? What is your stance? And to kind of check each other, it would be kind of interesting to go back and see how would you disagree with others. And again, don't think of this as something that you have to go in and disagree and get all fiery about. We're simply talking about opinions. You don't assume that people believe what they're saying. Assume that they're making an argument and they're making it for the sake of argument. That can sometimes shield us from some of the controversy that comes out of discussions like this. You can be like, I don't think the minimum wage should ever be raised. And if we're talking about this from the perspective of, is that an argument or not? That's an argument. Does it have support? And we can kind of sort of go after each other on our supporting things, but we don't necessarily have to take the disagreement with the raising of the minimum wage as a reflection of who I am or what I think. It's simply an argument that I'm offering, right? So that's the main thing I want you guys to focus on right now. Look back at your information reports. Look back at the things that you've been following, and I want you to come up with an argument. The argument that you use to respond to this video does not have to be the one that you end up discussing, though. You can change from here and to from the due date. So you're not necessarily committing yourself to this yet. I just want you to try this on for size. Let's see what are some arguments that you come up with. All right. That's enough for me today. There will be another big one on Thursday. So keep your eye out for that. And hope you guys are having a great week.